we are going to crack an important concept in bond valuation, which we called as Macaulay duration. Right? I hope audio and video are clear to all of you. This is the key topic for for banking professional and finance. So. I think you must have heard about this Macaulay duration, right? So the question is, yeah, right. You can see the question. Let me show you the question here. That ABC Bank is evaluating a newly issued 3-year bond, right? It is evaluating a newly issued 3-year bond with the following detail. The detail is that face value is rupees 100, coupon rate is 8%, market interest rate is 8%, right? The cash flow are as follow, right? For first year cash flow is 8, for second year cash flow is 8, for third year cash flow is 108. So this data has been provided to you. I request you, if possible, take the screenshot of this slide because the data we will be using from this slide only. Let's see the first question. The question asks you, what is the Macaulay duration of this bond? Options are 2.78 year, 3 year, 2.50 year, 3.20 year. I hope you must have pen, paper and calculator with you, right? If you don't have, please take it because in today's session we are going to do numerical question. आपके पास पेन पेपर कैलकुलेटर जरूर होगा, यदि नहीं है तो आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि प्लीज आप लेकर बैठे, बिकॉज आज के सेशन में हम लोग न्यूमेरिकल क्वेश्चन करने वाले हैं, राइट? सो ट्राई सॉल्विंग इट ऑन योर ओन, आई विल एक्सप्लेन इट स्टेप बाय स्टेप. Right. So basically, what is the meaning of this Macaulay duration? Bond. For a bond like this, bond pays interest periodically, and it gives face value at the maturity. So what is happening here? You invested 100 rupees initially. First year you get 8%, means 8 rupees. Second year you get 8 rupees, right? It is a 3-year bond, and in the last year you get 108, which include face value also. So since the money comes at different time, we need to find the average time to get this payment, right? So the question is, face value is given, coupon rate is given, market interest rate is given, and maturity is given. So these data have been provided. And since the bond pays 8% annually, you can see clearly written that the bond pays 8% annually, right? So how much coupon payment will the investor receive each year? Please type answer in the chat. Can you type the coupon payment amount? Please let me know how much coupon payment will the investor receive each year. My first question is, can you tell me about the coupon payment? How much coupon payment? Coupon payment will be how much for this particular question? I think you are familiar with this bond. Please type in the chat the coupon payment amount. I'm just waiting for your response. 80, 80 not, it will not be 80. Please check again. Not, it will not be 80. Coupon payment will not be 80. It will be rupees 8, right? It will be rupees 8. Yes, correct. It will be rupees 8. Very good. It will be rupees 8. Because 8% of, you have to find 8% of 100, right? And 8% of 100 is how much? 8. Very good. So annual coupon payment is 8. Final year will also include face value. So the cash flow will look like this. You see the cash flow written here. Now let's calculate how much this cash flow are worth today, right? So we will use something called discounting factor, right? So one thing you must know, that whenever you have been asked to calculate Macaulay duration, and this is a favorite question of IIBF, right? This is a favorite question. So what you do, you draw a particular table, right? I request you that you should draw a particular table to solve such question. So let me draw the table for you here. So in the first column you write year, in the second column you write the cash flow, in the third column you write the discount factor, we write it df stands for discount factor. In the fourth column you write present value. In the fifth column you write weighted present value, or we write weighted present value. And in this way, this is the best way to solve the question related to. So this is the best way to solve the question related to our calculation of this bond, right? Yes. So now let us do the calculation step by step. So just you just continue your calculation. I will continue. Just a few people are unable to join the session. So okay, one thing I want to ask you, whether the link of this session is available on your app dashboard. Please let me know in the chat that some people are unable to join the session. They are saying the link is not available on their dashboard. So, are you able to see the link of this live class on your dashboard? I hope you must have. Okay, so now let's continue our discussion. Right. So, some of you are answering option number B. Right. So, let's continue our discussion. For year number one, let's start with the first year. That is our year number one. So for first year, what is the cash flow? The cash flow is 8, right? And what is the discount factor? So discount factor is 1 upon 1 plus r to the power n. This is the formula of discount factor. Now in this case, r is our r is what? 8. R is 0.08. So it is 1.08 to the power n. What is n value we will take for first year? N is equal to 1, right? So n is equal to 1. So 1 upon 1.08, this will give you 0.9259. So I write here 0.9259. And what is the present value? So you multiply both of them. You multiply 8 multiplied by 0.9259. This will give you 7.41. And what is weighted PV? What is the meaning of weighted PV? How do we calculate weighted PV? So weighted PV is equal to year multiplied by PV. So 7.41 multiplied by 1. So this will give you 7.41, right? So for the first year, we have done the calculation. Now, let's continue to our second year. For year number 2, right? For year number 2, what is the cash flow? The cash flow is 8. What is the, can you tell me what is the discounting factor for year 2? Please let me know what is the discounting factor for year 2. How to calculate the discounting fee, because this Macaulay duration is a super important topic, right? This question has been asked frequently. You should know how to calculate the Macaulay duration step by step. So I am taking you, I am calculating step by step. I hope you must have पेन पेपर एंड कैलकुलेटर विद यू. आपके पास पेन पेपर कैलकुलेटर होगा, मैं उम्मीद रखता हूं. तो आप मुझे बताइए कि सेकंड ईयर का डिस्काउंटिंग फैक्टर कितना होगा. व्हाट विल बी द डिस्काउंटिंग फैक्टर फॉर द सेकंड ईयर? प्लीज लेट मी नो इन द चैट. So what will be the discounting factor for the second year? It's quite easy, right? We have to use this particular formula, 1 upon 1 plus r whole to the power n. So for the second year, 1.08 to a chi square, right? For second year, it will be 1.08 chi square. So using calculator, please calculate the value. I hope you will get 0.8573. Please let me know, are you getting the same value, 0.88573? Because I'm just doing the calculation and I'm getting 0.8573, right? 0.8573. And now what will be the present value? Just multiply this 8 with 0.8573. This will give you 6.86. And what is weighted PV? What is the value of weighted PV? So just multiply by year. What is the year value? 2. 2 multiplied by 6.86. This will give you 13.72. And now let's move to the year number 3. So for year number 3, what is the cash flow? The for year number 3, the cash flow is 108, because the bond is for 3 year only. In the third year you will receive 8 rupees as coupon and 100 rupees entire face value. So the cash flow will be rupees 108. Now please tell me, what is the discounting factor for year number 3? I am waiting for your response. Please let me know in the chat, what is the discounting factor for year 3? Year 3 का discounting factor क्या होगा, please बताइए. It will be nothing but 1 divided by 1.08 to the power 3, right? So what value are you getting for discounting factor? What value are getting for discounting factor for year number 3? So 1 divided by 1.08 cube. So let me do the calculation here. I hope you are doing the calculation, right? Please do the calculation, because this question have been asked most frequently. So I am getting the value 0.7942. Are you getting the same? So I am getting 0.7938. I hope you are also getting the same, right? So discounting factor for year 3, I am getting one. This value will give me 0.7938, and just multiply coupon with discounting factor. The present value will be 85.74, and the weighted PV will be how much? 85.74 multiplied by 3. This will give us 257.22. If you have any doubt related to any step, please let me know in the chat. यदि आपको किसी प्रकार का डाउट है किसी भी स्टेप में, आप प्लीज हमें चैट में बताएं. इस प्रकार का टेबल आपको बनाना चाहिए. यू शुड प्रिपेयर दिस टेबल, राइट? जब भी क्वेश्चन आपको मैक्लोड ड्यूरेशन निकालने को पूछे, यू शुड प्रिपेयर दिस टेबल, राइट? So now what we will do? So we know. So can you tell me, what is the total present value? If we add the total present value, what is the total present value? The total present value is how much? You add this particular column, 7.41 plus 6.86 plus 85.74. So this I'm getting approximately 100, right? 87, yes, approximately it is getting 100. And if I add the weighted PV, so weighted PV I am getting 278.34. Are you getting the same? 278.34. Now can you tell me, what is the answer for Mackillop duration? Please let me know. Okay, fine. I'm explaining from the beginning. I'm explaining for the beginning. Fine. Because this is very important chapter. This is very important topic. So how to go about calculating the Mackillop duration? So I'm again explaining. So just the data. I'm using this particular slide from here. I'm explaining. Okay. See, what you have to do whenever you have been asked to calculate the Mackillop duration, you prepare a table, right? Firstly, in the first column, you write year, right? In the second column, what you do? In the second column, you write the cash flow, right? In the third column, you write the discount factor. In the fourth column, you write the present value, and in the last column, you write PV into N. This is also called weighted present value. This is also called the weighted present value. Now, what is happening in this situation? That we have a bond whose face value is given rupees 100, right? We have a bond whose face value is given rupees 100, and coupon rate is given 8%. Coupon rate is given 8%, and it is coupon is paid annually. So per year we will receive 8% of 100, which is equal to rupees 8. Rupees 8 we will receive on annual basis every year, right? And YTM is given 8%. You have been asked to calculate the Mackillop duration. The question is asking to calculate the Mackillop duration, right? This is the question. Now, first of all, you should understand what is going on here. You must have done the calculation about bond. So in the first, you have this is your cash outflow. You have paid rupees 100 initially, and in first year you get rupees 8. In the second year you get rupees 8 as coupon, and in the third year you get coupon plus your face value amount, which is equal to 108. So this is our cash flow. This is how our cash flow looks like. So in the first year, so what we will do, the best way to calculate it, the best way to do the calculation is to draw this particular table. Year 1, year 2, year 3, right? In first year, what is your cash flow? You are just getting coupon payment, which is rupees 8. In second year, what is your cash flow? You are just getting rupees 8, which is your coupon payment. In the third year, you are getting 100 plus 8. 100 is the face value, which is your 108. Because 100 is given the face value, right? 100 is the face value. Fine. Now, the next column we have is a discounting factor. You know what is the meaning of discounting factor? What is the meaning of discounting? See, we want to discount this rupees 8, right? Yes, hello. So friends, we want to discount this future value. How to discount this? So to discount this, we multiply it by discounting factor. What is discounting factor? Discounting factor is 1 upon 1 plus r whole to the power n. This is called discounting factor. R is the interest rate, right? R is the interest rate, which is YTM. R is the YTM, and n is the time. So here YTM is given 8%, right? YTM is market interest rate is given 8%. So R we have to take 0.08, right? So our n varies. For first year n will be 1, for second year n will be 2, for third year n will be 3, right? So our discounting factor will be what? Our discounting factor will be, our DF will be 1 upon 1.08 to the power n. Now can you tell me what is the discounting factor for first year? You just put n is equal to 1. आप n की जगह 1 put कर दें, you will get 1 upon 1.08. Just do the calculation, right? You will get 0.9259. Just put it here, 0.9259, right? So this is the discounting factor for the first year. Now, if you want to calculate the discounting factor for the second year, you just have to put n is equal to 2. So here put n is equal to 2. So you will get 0.8573. Just do the calculation. I have done it already, so I'm just writing it. Now for year number 3, you have to find the discounting factor. You put n is equal to 3. You put n is equal to 3, right? I hope everything is okay till now. If you have any doubt, please type in the chat box. Right. So for year 3, you just put n is equal to 3. So this will give you 1.08 to the power 3. So the value will be 0.7938. Right. Now you know the discounting factor. Now you have to find the present value. How to find the present value? Just multiply the cash flow with the discounting factor. So 8 multiplied by 0.9259, this will give you 7.41. 8 multiplied by 0.8573, this will give you 6.86. 108 multiplied by 0.7938, this will give you 85.74. Just multiply column 2 and column 3. This will give you the present value, and the last column is the weighted present value. How to go about calculating it? So just multiply column 1 with column 4, right? You have to multiply year with present value. PV into n means year. So what is the first column? What is the value here? What will be the value here? Let me use different color. So it will be nothing but 7.41 multiplied by 1 is equal to 7.41. The next is 6.86 multiplied by 2, which will give us 13.72. The next is 85.74 multiplied by 3. This will give us 257.22. Now in the last row, we get the total, right? If you add this, you will get approximately 100. And if you add PV into n, you will get approximately 257.22. Now please let me know, is this table clear? How to go about drawing this table? The case study related to Mackillon duration is very favorite topic for IIBF, especially BFM subject, right? They surely ask a case study based on 5 marks question. Mackillon duration, modified duration, and coupon rate. This way they can ask it, right? So now can you tell me what is the formula for Mackillon duration? What is the formula for Mackillon duration? So the formula is, let me write down here. The formula is Mackillon duration equal to, the formula says it is equal to total weighted PV. In the numerator, we write total weighted PV. In the denominator, we write total PV. Total PV. Or we also write summation of PV into N upon summation of PV mathematically. Now, can you tell me the value? What is our total weighted PV? We have just calculated it how much? 257.22. Our total weighted PV is 257.22. So it is nothing but 257.22. And what is our total PV? The total PV is 100, right? In the denominator, we will write 100. So what is the value you are getting? I am getting 2.57 years, right? I think 257 it is. Yes, I'm getting 2.57 year, right? So approximately the correct answer is option number A. Actually, it should be 2.57, right? So option number A will be correct. So this is how you will go about calculating the Mackillop duration, right? You must prepare this table. Preparing this table make it easier task for you, right? So correct answer is option number right 2.78 year. So in this case, you can see what is the bond maturity. The bond maturity is 3 year and our Mackillop duration is 2.78 year. So duration is does not fully account for cash flow, right? So that is why. So what we learned from this question? From this question, we learned that Mackillop duration measures the weighted average time to receive bond cash flow. It is used to understand a bond interest rate sensitivity and it is always less than or equal to maturity. Now, can you tell me when Mackillop duration will be equal to maturity? Please let me know in the chat. In which case our Mackillop duration will be equal to maturity? There is a special case, right, where our Mackillop duration is equal to maturity. Do you know when it is? So our numerator will become 300 as the PV into N, right? So Mackillop duration and maturity both are equal in a particular special case. Let me know. So before that, I'm moving to the next question. The next question is on your screen, right? So the question says that an investor holds a bond with face value of 100 and modified duration of 3.5 year, right? So in this question, we will learn how bond price change when interest rate changes, right? So the question is, imagine you have a bond that pay the current yield is how much? 6%, right? And there is an expectation that interest rate might drop by 1% in the near future. So imagine you have a bond that pay rupees 6 interest every year, and if the interest rate in the market is also 6, this bond look fair. But what if the interest rate suddenly increase to 8%? क्या हो गया, क्या हो जाए कि इंटरेस्ट रेट बढ़ गया? आप यहाँ देख सकते हैं इंटरेस्ट रेट 1% घट चुका है, राइट? सो द क्वेश्चन इज, what would be the approximate percentage change in the bond price if interest rate fall from 6% to 5%? Options are price will decrease by approximately 3.5%. Option B, price will increase by approximately 3.5%. Option C, there will be no significant change in price. Option D, the exact change cannot be determined. And modified duration is given 3.5 year. Right? Modified duration is given 3.5 year. So what do you think the correct answer to this particular question? Now, before answering this question, let me ask you another question, right? Before answering it, let me ask you another question. That suppose you have a bond that pays 6 rupees interest every year, right? And if the interest rate in market is also 6%, it looks very good. Now, what if interest rate suddenly increase to 8%? Would the newer bond in the market offer higher or lower interest rate compared to your bond? प्लीज टाइप हायर इफ यू थिंक हायर इंटरेस्ट रेट एंड प्लीज टाइप लोअर. मान लीजिए कि आपके पास एक बॉन्ड है जो कि आपको 6 रुपया दे रहा है हर एक साल. 6 रुपीज कूपन आपको दे रहा है हर एक साल, प्रत्येक ईयर. इट गिव्स यू रुपीज 6 every year. And if the interest rate in the market is also 6%, the bond look fair. But suppose interest rate increase to the 8%. मान लीजिए मार्केट में इंटरेस्ट रेट 8% चला गया, तो जो नया बॉन्ड होगा वो आपको हायर इंटरेस्ट रेट देगा या लोअर इंटरेस्ट रेट देगा? So the new bonds will offer you higher interest rate or lower interest rate. Please type higher if you think if the new bond will offer higher interest rate, and please type lower. What do you think? So the correct answer is higher, right? The correct answer is higher because the newer bond will pay 8% interest, but your old bond still pays 6% interest. So tell me, will the investor want your bond at the same price? क्या आपके इन्वेस्टर बॉन्ड चाहेंगे उसी प्राइस पे? The answer is no. Answer is no because they will demand a lower price to compensate for the lower interest rate because you are still offering 8% 6%. आप अभी भी 6% दे रहे हो, राइट? और लेकिन मार्केट में बॉन्ड का रेट हो चुका है 8%, तो आप कैसे कॉम्पेंसेट करोगे? आप बॉन्ड का प्राइस कम करके, राइट? So that is what you know it very well that bond price is inversely proportional to interest rate. Bond price is inversely proportional to interest rate. Interest rate increase, bond price decrease. Now in this question we can see that आपने modified duration के बारे में सुना है? Have you heard of this modified duration? Have you heard of this modified duration? In the so what is the formula for modified duration? So this modified duration tells us, right, this tells us approximately how much a bond price will change if interest rate change by 1%. So if interest rate change by 1%, if delta interest rate is 1%, then what will be the change in price? This is what modified duration tells us, right? So this is called modified duration. It tells us that if interest rate change by 1%, what will be the change in the bond price? Now, in this case, what are the data have been given? What are the data has been given? आप इस केस में क्या क्या डेटा देख रहे हैं? आपके सामने जो डेटा दी गई है उसको मैं यहाँ लिख देता हूँ. लेट मी राइट डाउन हियर. फेस वैल्यू इज गिवन ₹100, राइट? Modified duration MD is given 3.5 year. Current yield is given 6%. And how much change in the yield is there? Yield में कितना परसेंटेज का चेंज है? वो 1% का, यहाँ साफ साफ लिखा हुआ है. यील्ड में 1% का चेंज है. सो एक्सपेक्टेड चेंज इन यील्ड मींस डेल्टा वाई इज हाउ मच? 1%. Earlier it was 6%, now it become 5%. Now one question I want to ask you, since interest rate is falling, do you think that bond price will increase or decrease? Please type increase or please type decrease in the chat box. What do you think happened to the bond price? Will it increase or will the bond price decrease? So in this case, you can see that interest rate is falling, right? Earlier it was 6%, now it become 5%. I want your response whether the bond price will increase or decrease. Please let me know in the chat. I hope I am audible to you, right? Please let me know what will happen to the bond price. Will it increase or will it decrease? Just be quick because I want this session to be interactive, right? Your response are most awaited because let me see whether you are grasping the thing or not, right? So in this case, if everything okay, please, I'm not getting any response from your side. Yes, obviously it will decrease. Very good. No, it will increase, right? It will increase. Bond price will increase because bond price and interest rate are inversely proportional. Here what is happening? Interest rate is decreasing. Earlier it was 6%, later it become 5%. So you can see the decrease in interest rate. This is compensated by increase in bond price. This is compensated by increase in bond price, right? So here bond price will increase because when interest rate fall, bond price rise. जब भी interest rate घटेगा, bond का price बढ़ेगा. Remember this rule. And here interest rate decrease from 6% to 5%, so bond price will increase, right? So now we will use a simple formula. What is the formula? The formula is percentage change in price. Percentage change in price is equal to negative of MD multiplied by percentage change in yield. This formula we will use. Why negative sign is there? क्या बता सकते हैं why there is negative sign? This negative sign shows that price and yield are inversely related. That's why I put a negative sign to get the answer positive, right? To get the answer positive. So what is the yield change in decimal form? Yield का जो change है वो decimal form में कितना है आप बता सकते हैं? So it is 1%. So 1% we can write 0.01, right? And what is modified duration? Modified duration कितना है? 3.5 year. So minus 3.5 multiplied by 0.01. So this will be how much? This will be minus 3.5% approx. And 1 minus, right? This will be minus 3.5. So ultimately it will become positive. So the percentage change in price is plus 3.5%. So it means price will increase by 3.5%, right? So price will increase by 3.5%. Now look at the option. Option number A say price will decrease by 3.5%. This is wrong. Option number B say price will increase by 3.5%. This is correct. Option number C say there will be no significant change in price. This is wrong. Option number D say the exact change cannot be determined. This is also wrong. So correct answer to this question is option number B. Please let me know if you have any doubt. Please let me know if you have any doubt for this particular question. So what we learned from this question is that bond price and interest rate moves in opposite direction. Bond price और interest rate opposite direction में move करता है. Bond price बढ़ेगा if bond price will increase, interest rate will decrease, or if interest rate decrease, bond price will increase, right? And modified duration estimate price sensitivity to the interest rate change. How much sensitive price is to interest rate change? This is what modified duration tells us. And the formula is percentage change in price is equal to negative of MD multiplied by percentage change in yield. You can see this formula here, it is written. This is the formula, right? And in our case, 1% decrease in yield increase the bond price by 3.5%. So did this particular question help you understand how bond price react to the interest rate change? Please type yes or no. Did this question make you clear how bond price react to the interest rate change? Please let me know in the chat box. Now, I hope it must have. Okay, very good. Now, let me ask you one question from the previous question. In this question, can you tell me what is the modified duration? We calculated Macleod duration as 2.57, right? 2.57 is our Macleod duration. Now, can you please tell me what is our MD? What is the modified duration? Please let me know in the chat box what is the modified duration. How to go about calculating modified duration when Macleod duration is known? I know there is a simple formula, you must know it, that modified duration is equal to Macleod duration divided by 1 plus n. Sorry, 1 plus yes, 1 plus n. Actually it is 1 plus yield, not n, it is 1 plus yield. Y stand for yield, that is YTM. So this formula you must know. This formula that modified duration is equal to Macleod duration upon 1 plus y, this you must know. Now please do the calculation. Please check what is yield here. The yield here was 8%, I think. The yield here was 8%. Now please do the calculation and tell me what is the modified duration in this question. Suppose one case study is asked. In the first question they ask you Macleod duration. In the second question they ask you modified duration. So how do you go about doing that? So Macleod duration is 2.57 upon 1 plus 0.08. How much you are getting the value? Please let me know. So this will be 2.57 upon 1.08. What is the answer you are getting? Multiplied by 1.08. So I'm getting 2.7756. Are you getting the same? Sorry, no. 2.57 divided by 1.08, right? So it is 2.379, right? 2.379, right? I hope you are also getting the same. This is the modified duration. Are you calculating it or not? Please do the calculation yourself. Yes, 2.37. Very good. Very good. 2.37 I am getting, right? So this is the modified duration. So I hope now the concept is clear. The three formula which you must keep in mind. The first formula, let me write it down, and you must note it. These three formula. These are super important. The first formula is Macleod duration. Macleod duration is equal to summation of PV into N upon summation of PV. This is the first formula, right? The second formula is modified duration. Modified duration. Just wait a minute. Modified duration is equal to Macleod duration upon 1 plus y. This is the second formula. And the third formula is delta P, percentage change in delta P is equal to modified duration into percentage change in delta y, right? So these three formula which you must know. This will help you to do the calculation better, right? Now let's move to the next question. The next question is, you can see on your screen, a financial analyst is tasked with calculating the VAR, that is value at risk, for a diversified portfolio consisting of stock and bonds, right? So this diversified portfolio, it consists of the stock and bond, as you can see it here. So the portfolio performance is heavily influenced by the market, right? Let me zoom out a little bit. Right, I hope it is visible now. Question is visible to you, right? You can see the question written that the portfolio performance is heavily influenced by the market volatility and correlation between different asset class. An analyst must choose between three methods. historical simulation, variance covariance, and Monte Carlo simulation. Which method would you think most suitable if the analyst want to avoid making explicit assumption about correlation and dynamics of risk factor? The four options are given. Option number A, variance covariance method. Option number B, historical simulation. Option number C, Monte Carlo simulation. Option number D, all method require similar assumption. So in this question, we are going to discuss a essential risk measurement concept, which we call value at risk, right? So this is super important. So before we dive into the method, let me ask you, do you think that financial market are predictable? Yes or no? What do you think? Are the financial market predictable? Okay, so the correct answer is truth is that financial market is uncertain. The financial market is volatile, which is why we need some risk measurement tool like value at risk to estimate potential loss in a portfolio. Right? Obviously, it is not stable. Right? In the our financial market, it is not stable. So we need something called VAR, value at risk, to estimate potential loss in a portfolio. Right? So if I invest in a portfolio, if suppose I invest in a portfolio, how much can I lose in a given time period with a certain level of confidence? So there are three major way to compute VAR. The first way is called historical simulation, second way is called variance covariance, and the third way is called Monte Carlo. Right? So as the name itself suggests, historical simulation, it uses past data. Right? Now you are a financial analyst and you want to calculate risk for a portfolio, right? So let me provide you detail about little bit. Historical simulation used past data, right? Historical simulation use past data to predict future risk. Variance covariance use statistics. It use statistics and assume normal distribution. And Monte Carlo simulation run thousands of simulation. It run thousands of simulation to estimate possible outcome. Now let me ask you a simple question. That imagine that you are a financial analyst and you want to calculate risk of a portfolio. So which method do you think is the simplest and do not require complicated assumption? Option number A. Option number A, variance covariance. Option number B, historical simulation. Option number C, Monte Carlo simulation. Please answer my question in the chat box. Imagine that you are a financial analyst and you want to calculate risk for a portfolio. Which method do you think is the simplest and does not require? So the keyword here is the simplest. आप मान लीजिए एक फाइनेंशियल एनालिस्ट हैं और आप किसी पोर्टफोलियो का वीआर निकालना चाह रहे हैं, तो कौन सा मेथड सबसे सिंपलेस्ट होगा और इसमें कोई कॉम्प्लिकेटेड एजम्पशन नहीं होगा? इज इट वेरियंस को वेरियंस, इज इट हिस्टोरिकल सिमुलेशन एंड इज इट मॉन्टे कार्लो? प्लीज लेट मी नो, बिकॉज दिस क्वेश्चन इज अ वेरी फेवरेट क्वेश्चन ऑफ आईआईबीएफ. दे आस्क इट मोर फ्रिक्वेंटली. क्या लगता है आपको सबसे सिंपलेस्ट कौन सा मेथड है? विच मेथड इज द सिंपलेस्ट? द करेक्ट आंसर इज हिस्टोरिकल सिमुलेशन. राइट? आई एम नॉट गेटिंग योर रिस्पॉन्स. I request everyone to please type in the chat box. Yes, the correct answer is historical simulation, not variance covariance. Historical simulation. Historical simulation is the easiest because it uses historical data and does not assume correlation or risk factor distribution. Right? But this variance covariance, this variance covariance assume that asset return are normally distributed. It assumes that variance covariance assume that asset return are normally distributed. You know about normal distribution? You must have learned in your sampling chapter that there is a graph called normal distribution curve. And this Monte Carlo simulation is the most powerful, but it requires advanced computing, right? So do you think that using past data is always reliable for predicting future risk? Yes or no? What do you think? Do you think that past data is always reliable for future risk prediction? क्या आप सोचते हैं कि जो हमारा past data है, जो कि हम लोग historical simulation में करते हैं, do you think that past data is always reliable for future risks? The answer is no. Because while past data can be helpful, but market conditions change, and relying only on historical data, it might not capture sudden economic shock. आपने 2008 का फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस जानते होंगे, इसके बारे में आपने कोविड 19 के मार्केट क्रैश के बारे में जानते होंगे. तो यहाँ पे आप पास्ट डेटा का यूज नहीं कर सकते, राइट? So let's summarize the fact. What we learned from this discussion is that if you want a simple approach, then don't rely on complex formula. Historical simulation is the way to go, right? So what is the correct answer to this question? The question asks which method would be most suitable if the analyst want to avoid making explicit assumption about correlation. The correct answer is option number B, right? I hope this makes sense to you, right? So simplest one is historical simulation and the complex one is what Monte Carlo simulation, right? So this is the learning from this question. Now let us see the next question. The next question you have on your screen, that a bank use VAR model to manage its market risk exposure across various financial instruments. It needs a method that handle non-linear relationship between asset effectively. Which VAR calculation method is best suited for handling complex non-linear relationship within a portfolio? Variance covariance, historical simulation, Monte Carlo simulation. Option number D, none of these method can handle non-linearity well. What do you think? So for this question, which option do you think is the correct answer? So before going into complexity, let's start with the basics. So VAR is the tool that bank use to measure potential loss. वैल्यू एट रिस्क एक ऐसा टूल है जो कि बैंक यूज करती है पोटेंशियल लॉस को मेजर करने के लिए. इमेजिन दैट यू आर अ बैंक मैनेजर. हाउ डू यू एस्टिमेट हाउ मच योर बैंक कुड लूज ऑन अ बैड डे इन द मार्केट? आप कैसे एस्टिमेट करेंगे कि बैंक कितना लूज कर रही है किसी खराब दिन में? तो वहां पे वीआर काम आता है. दैट इज वेयर वीआर कम्स इनटू प्ले. वीआर आंसर योर क्वेश्चन दैट हाउ मच वी कैन लूज इन अ गिवन टाइम फ्रेम with a certain confidence level. Like for example, it says that we have one day VAR, we have one day VAR of rupees 10 million, at 95% confidence level, at 95% confidence level. Okay, what does it mean? What does it mean when a bank say that it has one day VAR of rupees 10 million at 95% confidence level? It means that there is a 95% chance that the bank won't lose more than 10 million in a particular day. राइट वेनेवर जब भी बैंक ऐसा कहता है कि मेरा एक दिन का जो VAR है वो 10 मिलियन है एट 95% कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल, इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि 95% चांस है कि बैंक जो है 10 बिलियन से ज्यादा लूज नहीं करेगा एक पार्टिकुलर दिन में. राइट नाउ लेट मी आस्क यू दैट डू यू थिंक obviously this finance you know it very well that financial market does not move in a straight line. It does not move in a predictable way, right? Market are complex, market is unpredictable, it is full of non-linear relationship. Stock, bond, derivative does not always move in simple pattern. So when bank calculate VAR, they have three methods. Either they use variance covariance, or they use historical simulation, or they use Monte Carlo. So you are answering option number A. Okay, fine. Let me. So which method do you think is the most advanced? What do you think? Is it which is the most advanced method? Variance covariance, historical simulation, or Monte Carlo? Please let me know in the chat. So, variance covariance says that it assumes that everything follow a normal distribution. Remember, the key point is that this variance covariance assumes that everything follow a normal distribution. This is the assumption that it makes. Everything follow the normal distribution. Historical simulation, it uses past market data. And Monte Carlo simulation, it run thousands of simulation to model different scenario. Now my question is, which is the most complex method out of these three? Is it A, B or C? Please let me know in the chat. What is the most complex? Yes, it is C. जो हमारा मॉन्टे कार्लो सिमुलेशन है ना, ये सबसे ज्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स मेथड है. राइट सो द करेक्ट आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन इज ऑप्शन नंबर सी. द करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन नंबर सी. नाउ लेट मी आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन, व्हाई मॉन्टे कार्लो सिमुलेशन हैंडल नॉन लिनियरिटी बेस्ड. यहाँ पे देखिए नॉन लिनियरिटी की बात हो रही है. हियर वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट नॉन लिनियरिटी. And if you talk about non-linearity, you must know that this Monte Carlo, it simulate this non-linearity based. Let me break down in simple term. Let us suppose that you are forecasting tomorrow weather. कल का weather क्या होगा आप उसे forecast कर रहे हैं. तो variance covariance method is like assuming that tomorrow weather will be just like average weather over the past year. वेरियंस को वेरियंस क्या कहेगा कि कल का जो मौसम होगा वो जो पिछले साल का मौसम रहा है उसका एवरेज होगा. वेरियंस को वेरियंस इट जस्ट टेल्स दैट टुमारो वेदर विल बी जस्ट लाइक एवरेज वेदर ओवर द पास्ट ईयर, बट इट नॉट ऑलवेज एक्यूरेट. हिस्टोरिकल सिमुलेशन कैसे बोलेगा? हिस्टोरिकल सिमुलेशन विल से लास्ट ईयर ऑन दिस डेट इट रेन्ड सो इट विल रेन दिस ईयर ऑल्सो. तो हिस्टोरिकल सिमुलेशन क्या बोलेगा कि पिछले साल इस दिन बारिश हुई थी तो कल भी बारिश होगी. बट व्हाट इफ कंडीशन चेंज? And Monte Carlo simulation is just like running thousands of different weather scenario based on multiple factors like temperature, humidity, or wind speed. So it gives the most flexible prediction. So whenever this non-linear risk is asked, so which is the most appropriate method, the answer is Monte Carlo simulation. Monte Carlo simulation is great for handling non-linear risk. It models real world complexity, right? So, okay, so please let me know. Do you think that Monte Carlo simulation is always the best method? Yes or no? What do you think? Do you think that Monte Carlo simulation is always the best method? Yes or no? Has this no limitation? So just now we have seen that it is great for handling non-linear risk in banking because it model real world complexity. The correct answer is no, because Monte Carlo is obviously powerful, right? But it is also time consuming. What are the limitation of Monte Carlo? That it is time consuming. ये time consuming होता है और इसमें बहुत सारा computing power चाहिए, right? So sometimes what happen, historical approach is a good approach, right? So what we learned from this discussion, let me summarize the fact. Please write clear if the concept is clear. So let me summarize the fact which we have just learned, that if the market is simple, if our market is simple, right, and it follow normal pattern, then we use this variance covariance. तब आप variance covariance को use कीजिए. If you want a method that avoid complex assumption, if you want a method that avoid this complex assumption, right, so then you use historical simulation. वहां पे आप historical simulation का use कीजिए. If your portfolio have derivative, if your portfolio have derivative, if your portfolio have option, if your portfolio have complex risk factor, right, so in that case you will use, in that case you use Monte Carlo simulation, right? In that case you use Monte Carlo simulation. सो आई होप इट इज क्लियर, राइट? कब हमें नॉर्मल, कब हमें वेरिएंस को वेरिएंस यूज करना है, राइट? ओके, वेरी गुड, इट इज क्लियर नाउ. When you have to use normal distribution, when you have to use historical simulation, and when you have to use the Monte Carlo. Very good. Now let's see the next question. The next question is on your screen. As you can see the main purpose of this question is to make your concept clear. देखिए, क्वेश्चन सबसे बेस्ट तरीका होता है कंसेप्ट क्लियर करने का. सो वट एवर क्वेश्चन वी आर डिस्कसिंग टुडे विल हेल्प यू क्लियर योर कंसेप्ट, राइट? सो नाउ लेट्स सी, if we are diving into important topic in risk management which we call stress testing, right? इस क्वेश्चन में हम लोग स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग की बात कर रहे हैं, right? So so first of all, question is, a bank want to assess its exposure to different changes in interest rate. It need a simple yet effective method for initial analysis before moving on to more complex model. Which stress testing technique would be most appropriate for this bank initial assessment? Scenario analysis, extreme value theory, simple sensitivity test, or maximum loss approach? So this question you can answer only when you understand what this different stress testing technique is all about. So before getting into the technique, let us start with a simple question. First question, why do you think that bank do stress testing? बैंक स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग क्यों करती है? Why do you think that bank do the stress testing? Please, can you tell me? So I'm explaining it because bank manage billions of loan, right? Bank manage billions of loan, right? Billions in loan. Bank manage billions in loan and investment. But what happen if interest rate suddenly rise or financial crisis hit? बैंक पता है आपको कि बिलियंस ऑफ रुपीज लोन में हैंडल करती है, राइट? लेकिन क्या हो यदि इंटरेस्ट रेट सडनली बदल जाए या फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस हिट हो जाए? तो जो स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग है ना, दिस स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग, इट हेल्प्स बैंक प्रिपेयर फॉर वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो. You know about this worst case scenario? It help bank prepare for the worst case scenario. It answer what will happen to the bank financial position if certain risk factor changes drastically. Suppose I say that interest rate rise by 2% overnight, so will the bank still be profitable? Now let me ask you a question. Do you think that stress testing is done only during a financial crisis? Yes or no? Do you think that stress testing is done only during a financial crisis? क्या आप सोचते हैं कि जो स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग है केवल फाइनेंशियल क्राइसिस के दौरान ही किया जाता है? यस और नो, राइट? Because whatever question I'm asking now, that is related to the concept whether you have you know stress testing better or not. The answer is no. State bank conduct stress testing regularly. बैंक जो है स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग रेगुलरली कंडक्ट करती है. ऐसा नहीं कि खाली जो है वर्स्ट केस आएगा तभी करेगी, नहीं. नाउ बैंक यूज डिफरेंट स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग मेथड. द फर्स्ट मेथड इज कॉल्ड सिनेरियो एनालिसिस. व्हाट इज सिनेरियो एनालिसिस? Scenario analysis says that imagine real world economic crisis. It imagine real world, it imagine real world crisis and their impact. Then we have extreme value theory. It analyze rare market event. It analyze rare market event. Then we have simple sensitivity test. It check the impact of single variable. It check the impact of single variable, like suppose interest rate. And then we have maximum loss approach. It estimate the worst case financial loss. It estimate the worst case financial loss. Again I'm repeating, सिनेरियो एनालिसिस क्या करता है कि जो हमारा रियल वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक क्राइसिस है उसको एनालाइज करेगा. एक्सट्रीम वैल्यू थ्योरी जो है रेयर मार्केट इवेंट को एनालाइज करेगा. सिंपल सेंसिटिविटी टेस्ट देखेगा एक सिंगल वेरिएबल का क्या इंपैक्ट होता है, जैसे मान लीजिए इंटरेस्ट रेट का क्या इंपैक्ट होता है. और मैक्सिमम लॉस अप्रोच जो है वर्स्ट केस फाइनेंशियल लॉस का अप्रोच करता है. नाउ लेट मी आस्क यू, इफ द बैंक वांट टू स्टार्ट विद द इजीएस्ट मेथड, व्हाट डू यू थिंक दे शुड चूज? ऑप्शन ए scenario analysis, option B extreme value, option C simple sensitivity, option D maximum loss. यदि बैंक इजीएस्ट मेथड चाहती है तो कौन सा मेथड सबसे इजीएस्ट है? प्लीज टाइप योर आंसर इन द चैट. इज इट ए, बी, सी और डी? विच इज द इजीएस्ट? Is it scenario? Is it extreme value theory? Is it simple sensitivity? Is it maximum loss? Because you know, in a single question I'm explaining everything. Yes, option number C is the correct. The easiest approach is option number C, that is simple sensitivity. Because what they do in simple sensitivity, that they just change one variable and see their impact. एक वेरिएबल को वो बदलते हैं और उसका इम्पैक्ट वो देखते हैं, राइट? सो नाउ, so why simple sensitivity? Suppose you are testing how strong a car brake. Suppose you have a car, you want to test that how strong a car brake is before a long road trip. आप एक रोड ट्रिप पे जाने वाले हैं, उससे पहले आप कार के ब्रेक को चेक कर रहे हैं. सो सिंपल सेंसिटिविटी टेस्ट इज जस्ट लाइक प्रेसिंग द ब्रेक एट डिफरेंट स्पीड. आप अलग अलग स्पीड पे कार के ब्रेक को प्रेस कर रहे हैं, ये देखने के लिए कि कार कैसे रिस्पॉन्ड कर रहा है. So simple sensitivity test is just like pressing the brake at different speed to see how our car respond. You don't need a full crash test or weather simulation, just a quick check, right? So in this case, so what is our question? That it needs a simple yet effective method for initial analysis, right? Now, so the correct answer to this question is obviously option number C, right? Simple sensitivity test. So now let me give you example of how bank do it. Let me give you example of how this is done in bank. Let's say a bank has rupees 1000 crore in home loan. A bank has rupees 1000 crore in home loan. If the interest rate increase by 1%, the bank might lose 50 crore. मान लीजिए कि बैंक के पास 1000 करोड़ है होम लोन में, इंटरेस्ट रेट मान लीजिए 1% से बढ़ जाए तो बैंक को 50 करोड़ का लॉस हो सकता है. द बैंक माइट लूज 50 करोड़. सो विथ अ सिंपल सेंसिटिविटी टेस्ट द बैंक कैन चेक हाउ मच दे माइट लूज इफ द इंटरेस्ट रेट गोज अप. दे विल डिसाइड वेदर दे नीड टू एडजस्ट देयर लोन रेट एंड दे विल प्लान हाउ टू प्रोटेक्ट प्रॉफिट, राइट? So do you think that all bank must follow the same stress testing method? क्या सभी बैंक सेम स्ट्रेस टेस्टिंग मेथड को फॉलो करें? yes or no? So do you think that all banks should follow the same stress testing method? The correct answer is no. Every bank choose a method which is based on their size. कुछ बैंक बहुत ही बड़े बड़े साइज के हैं. You know about DSIB, domestically systematic important bank, right? So some bank are DSIB and some bank are smaller. So based on their size also they should choose different stress testing technique, right? So what we learn from this question is that यदि किसी बैंक को एक सिंपल रिस्क असेसमेंट करना है, if a bank want to use a simple risk assessment, they should go for simple sensitivity test, right? And more advanced testing like scenario analysis are used later for deeper insight, right? Now let's see the next question. The next question is on your screen. I hope the previous question concept is clear. The next question is on your screen. It says that an investor has built a diversified portfolio across various sectors and geography to minimize overall risk. However, despite this diversification, the portfolio still faces potential loss due to broader economic factors like inflation or interest rate change. So, which type of risk does this scenario describe and why it can't be completely eliminated through diversification? Option A, unsystematic risk. Option B, systematic risk. Option C, idiosyncratic risk. Option D, operational risk. This question was asked in the December examination. Exactly same question was asked, right? So four options have been given to you, right? आपसे पूछा जा रहा है कि कौन से किस तरह का रिस्क से बैंक एक्सपोज है, राइट? सो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद अ सिंपल क्वेश्चन, व्हाई डू इन्वेस्टर डाइवर्सिफाई देयर पोर्टफोलियो? इन्वेस्टर अपने पोर्टफोलियो को क्यों डाइवर्सिफाई करते हैं? जैसे आप ही इन्वेस्टर है, यू आर एन इन्वेस्टर, यू डाइवर्सिफाई योर पोर्टफोलियो। द मेजर रीजन इज टू रिड्यूस द रिस्क, यू नो इट वेरी वेल, टू रिड्यूस द रिस्क, right? And that is absolutely correct. Diversification means you are spreading your investment, right? So do you think that diversification can completely eliminate the risk? Yes or no? Do you think that diversification can completely eliminate the risk? क्या लगता है आपको, डाइवर्सिफिकेशन आपके रिस्क को completely eliminate कर सकता है? Yes or no? What do you think? The correct answer is no, right? Some risk affect the entire market no matter how much you diversify. कुछ रिस्क ऐसे होंगे ना जो कि आपके पूरे के पूरे मार्केट को इफेक्ट करेंगे जितना भी आप डाइवर्सिफाई क्यों ना कर लें, राइट? एंड these risks are called systematic risk. Some risk will affect the entire market no matter how much you diversify, and such risks are called systematic risk. So what is systematic risk? Let me give you an example. Imagine you have a restaurant. मान लीजिए कि आपका एक रेस्टोरेंट है, right? And you have a diverse menu, right? You have pizza, right? You have pasta, right? And you have another item. So you think no matter what people like, I am covered. आप ऐसा सोचते हैं कि लोगों का कुछ भी लाइक हो, हम covered हैं. But then suddenly a nationwide lockdown happen. अब क्या होता है, लॉकडाउन होता है, right? Now it does not matter how diverse your menu is, your entire business is affected. Like in the COVID-19 situation, you were having a restaurant, you were having different items, and you think that no matter what the situation, what people like, I am covered. But the nationwide lockdown happened, and now it does not matter how diverse your menu is, your entire business is affected. This is exactly what systematic risk is. It affects everyone in the market, not just one company, not just one industry, right? This is called systematic risk. Now so what are the example of systematic risk? Can you give some example? One example is the inflation, right? Inflation, महंगाई जिसको बोलते हैं हम लोग, inflation. So when price rise, business and consumer feel the impact. Another example is interest rate change. This is another example. Another example is recession. Recession यानी आप समझते हैं ना, मंदी जिसको बोलते हैं हम लोग. Recession means a weak economic slow down all investment, and there can be some geopolitical event, right? Now, let me ask you a question, that suppose you invest in 50 different stock. मान लीजिए आप 50 different stock में invest करते हैं. So can you fully escape this systematic risk? Please let me know yes or no. Suppose you invest in 50 stocks. So can you escape? क्या आप can you escape this systematic risk? क्या आप फुल्ली इस सिस्टमेटिक रिस्क को एस्केप कर सकते हैं? मान लीजिए कि आप 50 स्टॉक में इन्वेस्ट किए, तो क्या आप सिस्टमेटिक रिस्क को एस्केप कर सकते हैं? द आंसर इज नो. इवन विद 50 स्टॉक, इफ द एंटायर मार्केट क्रैश, दे ऑल गो टुगेदर, दे ऑल गो डाउन, राइट? नाउ टेल मी व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस अनसिस्टमेटिक रिस्क? अब ये अनसिस्टमेटिक रिस्क क्या होता है? डू यू नो व्हाट इज अनसिस्टमेटिक रिस्क? So it affect only a specific company. The unsystematic risk affect only a specific company. It affect only a specific company. For example, suppose if Apple CEO resign, मान लीजिए कि Apple के CEO जो हैं वो resign करते हैं. For example, let's say Apple CEO resign, right? So Apple stock might fall. Apple का जो stock है वो गिरेगा, but other company won't be affected, and that is called unsystematic risk. But if inflation rise to 10%, suppose inflation rise to 10%, almost all stock in the market will suffer. That is called systematic risk, right? So now let me ask you one question. Please answer my question. Which risk can be reduced with diversification? Option number A, systematic risk. Option number B, unsystematic risk. My question is, अब आप systematic और unsystematic समझ चुके हैं. Now that you have understood what is systematic, what is unsystematic, which risk can be reduced with diversification? Is it systematic or is it unsystematic? Because in a single question हम एक क्वेश्चन से बहुत चीजें सीख सकते हैं. That is what I am doing, right? I have explained you what is systematic. I have explained you what is unsystematic. Now answer my question, that which risk can be reduced using diversification? Diversification से आप किस रिस्क को कम कर सकते हैं, whether unsystematic or systematic? The answer is unsystematic, right? The answer is unsystematic. Diversification से आप unsystematic risk को कम कर सकते हैं, right? Unsystematic, yes, correct, very good. Unsystematic risk can be reduced by diversification, but systematic risk cannot be avoided, right? So even though you can't eliminate this systematic risk, you can manage it. How can you manage systematic risk? आप कैसे सिस्टमेटिक रिस्क को मैनेज करेंगे? सो देर आर सम मेथड। देर फर्स्ट मेथड इज एसेट एलोकेशन। एक मेथड आप क्या हो सकता है कि आप एसेट को एलोकेट करें। सो यू स्प्रेड योर इन्वेस्टमेंट अक्रॉस डिफरेंट एसेट क्लास लाइक स्टॉक, like bond, like gold and real estate. Asset allocation is one method to reduce this systematic risk. Another way is your hedging strategy. आप hedging strategy के बारे में जानते होंगे, hedging, right? Hedging कुछ एग्जांपल दे सकते हैं क्या? Can you give some example of hedging strategy, hedging tool? I think you know it very well, right? Can you give some example of hedging tool? Let me see whether you know it or not. So one example is option, other example is future, right? So these are some example of hedging tool and global investment, right? So right. So these are some technique to reduce our systematic risk, like asset allocation, hedging strategy, or global investment. Now let me ask you one question. Suppose the stock market crash. मान लीजिए कि stock market crash कर जाता है. So do you think that gold price usually go up? Yes or no? My question is, if the stock market crash, if the stock market crash, यदि stock market crash करता है, what will happen to the gold price? Will it move up? Will it go up? Will it go up? Yes or no? This question is relevant to our discussion, right? So whether if the stock market crash, do you think that gold price usually go up? The correct answer is yes, obviously yes, because gold is considered the self haven. Gold is considered safe haven, right? It is considered safe haven asset. So investor buy it when the stock crashes. So the correct answer to this particular question, is option number B, systematic risk. Because the point is inflation, the point is interest rate change, and these things affect the entire market. The correct answer is option number B. Right. So let's summarize our discussion. Let's summarize what we learned in this particular question. Yes, if you have any doubt, you can just type in the chat box. So let's summarize discussion that systematic risk affect the entire market and it cannot be diversified. And it includes risk like inflation, recession, and interest rate change. An investor can manage it through asset allocation, hedging, and global diversification. So did this question help you understand why diversification is not enough? I hope you have understood what is systematic, what is unsystematic, what is the difference between them, how to reduce the unsystematic risk, how to reduce the systematic risk. Please type clear in the chat box if this concept is clear. Now let's move to the next question. The next question that we have is in front of your screen. I hope the previous question concept was clear to all of you. Let's see this particular question. So in this question, what is happening that in 2008, right? Greece was facing severe financial crisis. All these questions have been taken from your Macmillan book. Nothing outside that, right? So this way you are covering the content of Macmillan book also, using examples, using some case studies. Okay, fine. So the question is, in 2008, Greece was facing a severe financial crisis. The government has huge debt, right? And people started questioning whether Greece could repay it, right? So the question is, Greece faced significant economic challenge that led to concern about its ability to meet sovereign debt obligation. This situation posed risk not only for investor but also for international lender. So which type of risk did the 2008 Greek crisis exemplify? Option A, market risk. Option B, systematic risk. Option C, country risk. Option D, operational risk. Very easy question it is. What do you think the correct answer is? So if the country economic crashes, do you think that business inside that country will also suffer? Obviously, answer is yes. That if the business is doing well, right? So that is the point. The correct answer is country risk, right? The correct answer is option number C here, country risk. Country risk happen when a particular country default on its debt, when it introduced a strict financial regulation, when it faced political instability, right? So if anything happen, the country risk can arise. Option C is the correct answer, country risk. Right. Suppose a particular country has a collapse in currency, devaluation market. So that is our country risk. Right. So that is what happened in Greece. In Greece 2008, investor holding Greek government bond lost money because the country was at the risk of default. Bank that lent money to Greek business struggled to recover their loan. International lender become hesitant to lend more money. So this was not just Greek problem; it impacted everywhere, right? So why not option A? Option A is market risk. Market risk happen due to a stock market fluctuation. Systematic risk affect the entire global market. Operation risk, it arises from nation economic and political condition. So correct answer to this question is option number C, right? So which risk do you think is the biggest concern for international bank? Is it market risk or is it country risk? My question is, which risk do you think is the biggest concern for the international bank? Option A, market risk. Option B, country risk. So which is the biggest concern for the international bank? What do you think? The correct answer is obviously country risk, right? And it can be managed by using diversification, credit analysis, and hedging strategy, right? So that is how we can manage it. Now let's see the next question. This is a quite easy question. Now let's answer this. This is a very important question, right? So the question is, DEF Bank has a large portfolio of corporate loan. To manage credit risk, bank implement a statistical model that evaluate potential unexpected losses and track how the credit rating of borrower changes over the time. So this model allows the bank to estimate the probability of company migrating from one credit rating to another. So a risk manager states by understanding credit rating transition, we can better forecast loan portfolio risk and capital requirement. So which credit risk model is DEF Bank using in this scenario? Credit Matrix, Ultimate JD Score, Credit Risk Plus, or FIRB approach? So these are the different credit risk model. You must know about it, right? So which model is being used in this particular situation? You can see the options are there. So I think you know about this credit risk. So, bank lend to millions of companies and they need to make sure that they get their money back, right? But what if company credit rating change? What if a company that was financially strong yesterday become weak tomorrow, right? Become weak tomorrow. So आपको पता है कि बैंक जो है मिलियंस ऑफ कंपनी को पैसा देती है, राइट? और उनको ये श्योर करना है कि उनको पैसा वापस मिले। लेकिन क्या हो यदि कंपनी का क्रेडिट रेटिंग बदल जाए, या मान लीजिए कि जो कंपनी पहले फाइनेंशियली स्ट्रांग थी अब वो वीक हो जाए, तो वैसे केस में हमारा क्रेडिट रिस्क आता है। आप क्रेडिट रिस्क के बारे में जानते होंगे। आई नो यू, आई थिंक यू नो अबाउट दिस क्रेडिट रिस्क, राइट? So let's go through the option. What is credit matrix? So what do you think the correct answer here? The correct answer to this question, the correct answer to this question is option was developed by JP Morgan, right? And it predicts that how likely a company is to move from one credit rating to another, right? And how much risk the bank face if credit rating change, कि क्या रिस्क बैंक फेस करेगी यदि क्रेडिट रेटिंग बदल जाए, and how to allocate capital to cover unexpected loss. So these are the things which are answered. So let me show you the correct answer. The correct answer is option number A, credit metric. It was developed by JP Morgan, right? So, do you think that a company credit risk, obviously you know it very well, that company credit rating does not stay forever. So it can move from, suppose it is a AAA, this is the rating now. So it can move to BB, which is risky, right? Based on the financial performance. So let's take an example to make you understand what is happening here. Suppose a bank called DEF Bank. This DEF Bank lend rupees 10 crore to a company rated A today. मान लीजिए डीएफ बैंक ने 10 करोड़ पैसा लोन दिया कंपनी ए को, ठीक है? एक साल में, इन 1 ईयर, द कंपनी क्रेडिट रेटिंग माइट इंप्रूव टू डबल ए, और इट कैन माइट डिक्लाइन टू ट्रिपल बी. In 1 year, the company credit rating, it can either improve to double A or it can either decline to triple B. So the credit metric predict this rating change so bank can plan ahead. Right. So my question is, if a company credit rating improve, do you think that bank will charge higher interest rate? My question is, credit rating, if a bank credit rating improve, do you think that bank will charge higher interest rate? Yes or no? यदि मान लीजिए किसी बैंक का क्रेडिट रेटिंग इंप्रूव होता है तो क्या बैंक हायर इंटरेस्ट रेट चार्ज करेगी? व्हाट डू यू थिंक? प्लीज गिव योर रिस्पॉन्स इन द चैट। यदि किसी बैंक का क्रेडिट रेटिंग इंप्रूव होता है, सपोज द इनिशियल क्रेडिट रेटिंग वाज BBB ट्रिपल बी एंड नाउ इट इंप्रूव टू A, so do you think that bank will charge higher interest rate? No, obviously no, because if the rating improve, the company is safer, so the bank might even lower interest rate, right? So now let's look at the other model we have. तो इसका सही जवाब है क्रेडिट मैट्रिक, लेकिन बाकी मॉडल को भी एक बार देख लेते हैं। सेकंड मॉडल वी हैव इज द अल्टीमेट जेड स्कोर। सो इट प्रिडिक्ट bankruptcy risk, it predict bankruptcy risk, right? It predict bankruptcy risk using financial ratio. Then we have credit risk plus. It focus on default probability. It focus on default probability, right? But does not track rating change. It does not track the rating change. And the last we have is FIRB approach. It is used under Basel norms. It is used under Basel norms for calculating risk-weight asset. But this credit metric, what it does, it track credit rating transition and risk volatility. So let me ask you one question. Which model do you think is best for tracking change in the company credit rating? Option number A, credit risk plus. Credit risk plus. Option number B, credit metric. Listen to my question carefully. Listen to my question carefully. My question is, which model do you think is best for tracking changes in a company credit rating? Is it credit risk plus or is it credit metric? कौन सा मेथड सबसे बेस्ट होगा? जस्ट राइट ए एंड बी. विच मेथड डू यू थिंक इज बेस्ट यदि हमें ट्रैक करना है कि कंपनी का क्रेडिट रेटिंग में कैसा चेंज आए? इज इट क्रेडिट रिस्क प्लस और इज इट क्रेडिट मैट्रिक? व्हाट डू यू थिंक? The correct answer is B. Obviously B. That is credit metric. Right? Correct. Credit metric is the right choice. Bank love credit metric because it helps them predict the future risk in their loan portfolio. It helps them allocate their capital efficiently to cover possible loss. And also the credit metric make better lending decision. Bank can make better lending decision by analyzing the ratio. Right? So I hope this is clear now. Concept is clear. What is the advantage of credit metric? Very good. Now let's see the next question. The next question is on your screen. Again, this is another question that XYZ Corporation, a mid-sized manufacturing company, has been struggling financially due to declining sales and rising debt obligation. To assess the company financial health, ABC apply a quantitative model that evaluate five key ratios. Right. So which credit risk assessment model is the bank using in this scenario? Credit metric, credit risk plus, ultimate Z score, or RAROC model? What do you think? Which model is the bank using in this particular case? So imagine that you are a bank and a company come to you asking for a huge loan. So you don't want to lend money to a company that might fall soon, right? So how do banks figure out which company are financially stable and which one are in trouble? So what is your answer? Right, it is very easy question. Just now I have answer. I request all the member to answer the question. The correct answer is option C, obviously. Ultimate Z score. Ultimate Z score. Right. So ultimate Z score talks about the bankruptcy because here it is written clearly written bankruptcy. You see this keyword bankruptcy, right? So imagine. So let me explain what is ultimate Z score all about. Imagine you own a business. You take a loan from a bank to expand, but suddenly your sales drop, your expenses rise, and you can't repay the loan. What happened next? You might have to shut down the business. That is called bankruptcy, right? So obviously all the company which take loan does not end in bankruptcy. Most company repay their loan, but some struggle due to poor financial health, right? And this ultimate Z score was developed by Edwin Altman in 1968. 1968 was developed, right? So it suggests an early warning signal, EWS, early warning signal, right? For a bank to predict that if company might fail, right? So there are five financial ratio. How many ratios are there? There are five financial ratio. We will do a numerical question based on this right now. There are five financial ratio, right? So do you know what are those five financial ratio? Do you know what are the five financial ratio? I will talk about it later, right? Okay. And can you tell me what is the Z score? Z score, see, let me explain. So if 2.99, if Z score is greater than 2.99, it means it is safe zone, right? If Z score lie between 1.81 to 2.99, it means it is a gray zone. It is a gray zone. And if it is less than 1.81, it means it is a distress zone. It means it is a distress zone. On the basis of the result we obtain from ultimate Z score. So the Z score, I am telling you how to interpret Z score. If the Z score is larger than 2.99, it means our safe score, means company is financially healthy. If it is between 1.81 to 2.99, it means our gray zone. It means moderate risk is there. It means moderate risk is there, right? And if it is less than 1.81, it means high bankruptcy risk, right? So my question is, my question is, if a bank, if a company Z score is suppose 1.70, if a company Z score is 1.70, should a bank give it a loan? Yes or no? Please answer my question. यदि मान लीजिए किसी कंपनी का जेड स्कोर जो है 1.70 है, तो क्या बैंक उसे लोन दे या ना दे? राइट, प्लीज आंसर. Just now we have discussed that Z score, the value of Z score decide which what kind of the risk the company. सो जेड स्कोर का वैल्यू हमें बताता है कि किस तरह का रिस्क कंपनी फेस कर रहा है. यदि मान लीजिए किसी कंपनी का जेड स्कोर 1.70 है, then should company give it or loan or not? Yes, correct answer is no, because a low Z score means high chance of default, so bank will be very cautious, right? So this is very important. So remember, this is all about the ultimate Z score. Let's see the next question. Yeah, this is a very important question. This is a very important question, and this question is asked most frequently, right? So let's answer, let's understand the question, the concept behind this question. So friends, the question is, imagine you are a bank and you have given 100 of crore in loan. Now you want to free up some money to give more loan, but without waiting for these loan to be repaid. How do bank do that? The answer is securitization. The answer is securitization. And to ensure that bank don't pass all the risk to investor, RBI has set the rule for one of them is called MRR, which is called minimum retention requirement. Right. So let's understand it using an example. Right. So question is, ABC Bank is planning to securitize a portfolio of loan, right? And the portfolio consists of three types of loan. Loan set A, which is a short-term personal loan with an original maturity of 18 months amounting to 100 crore. Loan set B, business loan with an original maturity of 30 months amounting to 200 crore. Loan set C, residential home loan amounting to 150 crore with varied tenure. The bank want to comply with RBI minimum retention requirement while securitizing these loans. I request you, if possible, please take a screenshot of this slide, because based on the data provided in this slide, we will ask you a few questions. So the question is, what is the total amount that ABC Bank must retain as MRR for loan set A and B combined? यानी कि A और B को combine करके कितना MRR जो है, MRR होता है मिनिमम रिटेंशन रिक्वायरमेंट, ABC Bank retain करे 20 crore, 25 crore, 30 crore, 35 crore. These are the option, right, for loan set A and B. So this is the question. So let me explain what is happening here. मान लीजिए आपको concept नहीं clear है, तो मैं आपको बता देता हूं. Please try to listen my word carefully. Bank give loan to people and business. Instead of waiting for borrower to repay, bank sell this loan. Bank sell this loan to whom? Bank sell this loan to investor. Right, bank sell this loan to investor. Investor get regular payment as borrower repay their loan. As borrower repay their loan, investor get regular payment. Right, the bank get cash immediately and can give more loan. Right, now let me ask you a question. Do you think that banks sell all their loan and take zero risk? My question is, do you think that bank sell all their loan and take zero risk? Yes or no? Please let me know. This is how we will understand the concept clearly, right? Do you think? No, obviously no, right? No, because if the bank sell 100% of their loan, they might take reckless risk. The risk will be very high. That is why RBI introduced the concept of minimum retention requirement to ensure that bank keep a part of their risk. Bank can't sell 100% of their loan, right? Because the risk will be very high. So that is why RBI, Reserve Bank of India, introduced the concept of minimum retention requirement. Now let's break down this MRR in simple term. MRR is the minimum portion of the loan that bank must retain while securitizing its loan portfolio. जब भी बैंक अपने लोन पोर्टफोलियो को सिक्योरिटाइज करती है, तो मिनिमम अमाउंट जो कि बैंक रिटेन करती है उसको हम लोग बोलते हैं एमआरआर. नाउ देयर इज अ फॉर्मूला, देयर इज अ रूल रिगार्डिंग इट। आपको यदि पता है तो अच्छी बात है, नहीं पता है तो मैं बता देता हूं। लेट मी एक्सप्लेन इट। सो द रूल सेज दैट, जस्ट लेट मी इरेज इट। सो रूल क्या कहता है, लेट मी राइट इट डाउन। So I hope this is the this space. So the rule says that if the loan tenure is less than 24 month, if the loan tenure is less than 24 month, the bank must retain 5% of the loan. And if the loan tenure is more than 24 month, bank must retain 10% of the total loan. Right? So this is the rule. This is the rule you must know. Now before I ask you a question, why do you think RBI forces a bank to keep some portion of their loan? So the answer is to make bank responsible for loan quality, right? So RBI forces bank to keep a some portion of the loan. To the reason is what you know, to make bank responsible, to make bank responsible to keep some portion of the loan. So if a bank keep a portion of the loan, they will be careful while giving the loan. Otherwise, they might give bad loan and transfer all the risk to investor, right? So let's apply this concept to the real example. So in this case, what we are seeing that this ABC bank is securitizing a portfolio of loan. Loan set A is a personal loan amounting to 100 crore, tenure is 18 months, and loan set B is business loan of 200 crore, tenure 30 months. Now apply the MRR rule. So can you tell me what is the MRR for loan set A? लोन सेट ए का एमआरआर कितना होगा? आपको भी मैंने बताया कि 2 साल से कम का लोन है तो 5% एमआरआर, 2 साल से ज्यादा का लोन है तो 10% एमआरआर। आप मुझे बताइए कि लोन सेट ए का एमआरआर कितना होगा? आंसर 25। वेरी गुड गोप्ता, वेरी नाइस। सो पहले स्टेप बाय स्टेप कैलकुलेट करते हैं, लेट्स कैलकुलेट स्टेप बाय स्टेप। सो कैन यू टेल मी व्हाट इज द एमआरआर फॉर लोन ए? So loan A is for 18 months. Look at the duration of loan A. What is the duration of loan A? The duration of loan is 18 months. 18 months is less than 24 months. So MRR will be 5%. What will be the MRR for loan A? So 5%, 5% of 100 crore is how much? 5 crore. So for loan A, MRR is 5 crore. Now for loan set B, so what is the maturity? The maturity is 30 months, which is larger than 24 months. So what is the retention ratio? It is 10%. व्हाट इज 10% ऑफ 200? 200 का 10% कितना होगा? व्हाट इज 10% ऑफ 200? दिस इज 20 करोड़, राइट? दिस इज 20 करोड़, राइट? दिस इज 20 crore, राइट? Yes, correct. So my quick question for you: if a loan is for 15 month, what will be the MRR percent? 5% or 10%? Just answer my question. Suppose मान लीजिए कि लोन 15 महीना का है, तो एमआरआर कितना होगा? 5% होगा या 10% होगा? If the loan is for 15 months, what will be the MRR? Is it yes, 5%? Correct. Very good. Since it is less than 24 months, it is 5%. Now let's find the total MRR. Total MRR is how much? 20 plus 5. 20 plus 5, which is equal to 25 crore. Right. So the correct answer to this question is option number B. Very good. Option number B is the correct answer. Now, final question for you. If ABC retains 30 crore, if ABC bank retain 30 crore, can they securitize the remaining amount? यदि मान लीजिए एबीसी बैंक जो है 30 करोड़ को रिटेन कर ले, सो कैन दे सिक्योरिटाइज द रिमेनिंग अमाउंट? यस और नो? प्लीज लेट मी नो। इफ एबीसी बैंक रिटेन 30 करोड़, कैन दे सिक्योरिटाइज द रिमेनिंग अमाउंट? मान लीजिए कि एबीसी बैंक ने 30 करोड़ को सिक्योरिटाइज कर लिया, सॉरी रिटेन कर लिया, 30 करोड़ को रिटेन कर लिया, तो क्या वो बचे हुए अमाउंट को सिक्योरिटाइज कर सकते हैं? वेरी गुड, यस, वेरी नाइस। बिकॉज यू नो द मिनिमम अमाउंट फॉर लोन ए एंड लोन बी that they should retain is 25 crore, right? So the bank can now sell the rest of loan to investor, keeping only 30 crore, right? So in this question, what we learned, that securitization help bank free up money by selling loan. Securitization help bank free up money by selling loan. MRR ensure bank keeps some risk, making them responsible. For loan less than 24 month, 5% retention. For loan greater than 24, less than equal to, you see this sign equal to. Suppose a loan is for 24 month, so what will be the MRR? मान लीजिए लोन जो है 24 मंथ का है, तो एमआरआर कितना होगा? तो वहां भी 5% का एमआरआर होता है, राइट? सो फॉर लोन इक्वल टू 24 मंथ, एमआरआर इज 5%. फॉर लोन ग्रेटर देन 24 मंथ, एमआरआर इज 10%, राइट? So I hope it is clear. Please type clear in the chat if this concept is clear. Now let's see the second question of this is related to it. For loan C, which is RMBS, which is called residential mortgage backed security, what percentage of the book value must ABC retain as per RBI guideline? राइट आप मुझे बताइए कि जो लोन सी है, आप देखेंगे यहाँ पे लोन सी के लिए जो कि हमारा आरएमबीएस है, इसको शॉर्ट में RMBS भी कहते हैं, वी कॉल इट RMBS. So what percentage of the book value must ABC bank retain as per RBI guideline? So for loan C, you see that it is residential home loan amounting to 150 crore with varied tenure. Tenure are different. 150 crore, right? So it is for 150 crore. Tell me. So what percentage of the book value must ABC retain? What do you think the correct answer? Okay. No, no, I'm just asking you the percentage, right? So I'm not asking you the exact amount. I'm asking you the percentage, just percentage. So just you have to answer what is the MRR for RMBS, right? We don't have to calculate anything. So we have already learned that banks securitize loan to free up money for new lending, but the RBI ensure that some risk. RBI ensure bank retains some risk through MRR, right? So obviously if the bank sell 100% of their loan without any risk, so they will not care about loan quality, right? If the bank had zero risk, they might give loan carelessly. मान लीजिए बैंक का जीरो रिस्क हो जाएगा ना, तो वो बिना सोचे समझे लोन देना शुरू कर दे देंगे. इसीलिए आरबीआई मैंडेट करती है बैंक को कि कुछ पोर्शन लोन का रखें अपने पास जब भी वो सिक्योरिटाइज करें, राइट? नाउ व्हाट इज दिस आरएमबीएस? आरएमबीएस क्या होता है? आरएमबीएस स्टैंड फॉर residential mortgage backed security. Whenever a bank give home loan, these loans generate steady repayment from the borrower, right, in the form of EMI, equated monthly installment. So whenever bank give home loan, these loans generate steady repayment from the borrower, right? Try to understand what is this RMBS. RMBS होता क्या, ये समझने का प्रयास कीजिए. जब भी बैंक होम लोन देती है तो उसको स्टेडी रिपेमेंट मिलता है, एंड द बैंक बंडल दिस लोन. व्हाट बैंक डू? बैंक बंडल दिस लोन, right, and sell them to whom? And sell them to investor. एंड यू नो इन्वेस्टर अर्न रिटर्न एज बोरोवर रिपे देयर होम लोन. जैसे जैसे बोरोवर अपना होम लोन रिपे करेंगे, इन्वेस्टर को रिटर्न मिलेगा, एंड द बैंक गेट इमीडिएट कैश. नाउ माय क्वेश्चन इज, ट्राई टू आंसर माय क्वेश्चन. इफ होम लोन इज सोल्ड टू द इन्वेस्टर, हु कलेक्ट द ईएमआई पेमेंट? ऑप्शन ए बैंक, ऑप्शन बी इन्वेस्टर, ऑप्शन सी आरबीआई. मेरा क्वेश्चन है, यदि होम लोन बैंक इन्वेस्टर को बेच दिया गया तो ईएमआई पेमेंट किसे मिलेगा? बैंक को मिलेगा, इन्वेस्टर को मिलेगा, या आरबीआई को मिलेगा? इफ द होम लोन इज सोल्ड टू इन्वेस्टर, हु कलेक्ट द ईएमआई पेमेंट? इज इट बैंक, इज इट इन्वेस्टर, और इज इट आरबीआई? ए बी सी, व्हाट डू यू थिंक? If the question is, if the home loan is sold to investor, who will collect the EMI payment? Option A bank, option B investor, option C RBI. I request everyone to please just share your response. Yes, the correct answer is obviously investor. Once loan is sold, investor receive the EMI payment, right? Option B is the correct, investor. Now let's look at RBI rule for how much of the RMBS. RBI rule for how much of the RMBS a bank must retain. For personal and business loan, MRR depends on the tenor, which is 5% or 10%. I just told you previously. But for residential mortgage, MRR is fixed at 5%, irrespective of the tenor, right? So MRR for RMBS is always 5%, irrespective of the tenor, right? So now let's calculate the MRR. What was our loan portfolio? It was 150 crore. आप यहाँ देख सकते हैं जो हमारा लोन है वो कितना का था? 150 करोड़ का था. So what is 5% of 150? This is nothing but 7.5 crore, right? So this is nothing but 7.5 crore, right? So MRR is how much? 5%. एक 150 करोड़ का 7.5% होगा 7.5 करोड़. इज इट क्लियर दैट द एमआरआर वैल्यू विल बी 7.5? 5%, ये आपको पता होना चाहिए. इट इज 5%. नाउ लेट मी आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन. इफ होम लोन वाज 200 करोड़ इंस्टेड ऑफ दिस 150 करोड़, व्हाट वुड बी द एमआरआर? मान लीजिए होम लोन 200 करोड़ का है, तो एमआरआर कितना होगा? प्लीज टाइप. ऑप्शन ए, ऑप्शन ए 5 करोड़, ऑप्शन बी 10 करोड़, ऑप्शन सी 15 करोड़. Answer my question. If the home loan is for 200 crore, what will be the MRR? If the home loan is of 200 crore, not 150 crore, what will be the MRR? Is it A 5 crore, B 10 crore, C 15 crore? I hope everything is clear. I'm audible and video is also clear. I want your response. Quick response. What do you think? क्या लगता है क्या होना चाहिए इसका आंसर? Yes, 10%. Very good. It is 10 crore because 5% of, very good. 5% of 200 crore is how much? 10 crore. Very good. So what we learned from this question, that RMBS, which stands for residential mortgage backed security, these are home bundled loan and these are sold to investor. RBI mandate a 5% MRR for RMBS irrespective of the tenor, and for 150 crore in home loan, the bank must retain 7.5 crore. I hope this makes sense. So this is the learning you can see, right? I will share the PDF. Now let's look at the last question of today's session. So this question is about a leading bank designed to securitize its commercial loan portfolio to optimize its regulatory capital. To do this, it transferred the loan to a special purpose vehicle, which then issue multiple tranches of security to investor. These tranches vary in terms of risk and return. The bank benefits from this process by reducing credit risk exposure. So these are the data, these are the information provided to you. Now let's see the question. In CLO, which is collateralized loan obligation, how are cash flow from underlying loan distributed among the different tranches? Equally among all the tranches, based on the size of the tranches, sequentially starting with the most senior tranches, randomly among the tranches. So this is the question, right? So I hope you know about it, right? I hope you know about it. So before into the question, let me explain what is happening here, right? Let me explain what is happening in the simplest form. Imagine you have a big box of chocolate. मान लीजिए कि आपके पास एक बहुत बड़ा बक्सा है चॉकलेट का, right? So this is a big box of chocolate, and you and your friend decide to share, but some friend demand to get their chocolate first while other are willing to wait, right? How would you distribute them? Option number A, equally among all of them. Option number B, based on who contributed the most. Who contributed most? Option number C, give to some first. Give it to some first and then other later. And option number D, randomly. लिसन माई क्वेश्चन दैट इमेजिन यू हैव अ बिग बॉक्स ऑफ चॉकलेट. आपके पास एक बड़ा सा बॉक्स है चॉकलेट का. आप और आपके दोस्त, यू एंड योर फ्रेंड डिसाइड टू शेयर, बट सम फ्रेंड डिमांड टू गेट देयर चॉकलेट फर्स्ट while other are willing to wait. How do you distribute them? Tell me. You will option number A say that you will distribute equally to everyone. Option number B says that based on who contributed the most. Option number B says that C says that give to some first and then other later. And option number D says that randomly. What do you think? कैसे आप चॉकलेट बांटेंगे? हाँ, क्या आप सबको बराबर दे देंगे? क्योंकि कुछ लोग बोल रहे हैं क्या कि हम मुझे पहले चाहिए चॉकलेट, हाँ, और कुछ लोग बोल रहे हैं कि हम वेट करेंगे बाद में, कुछ का कहना है. तो आप क्या सबको इक्वली बांट देंगे, या आप जो सबसे ज्यादा कंट्रीब्यूशन किया है उसको ज्यादा देंगे, राइट? और किसी को आप पहले दे देंगे और फिर बाकी को बाद में देंगे, या रैंडमली देंगे? द करेक्ट आंसर इन दिस केस इज ऑप्शन नंबर सी, right? That some get it first then other later. This is exactly how cash flow in the CLO work. This is exactly how cash flow in CLO work. What is CLO? CLO stand for collateralized loan. अब देखिए, जिसको पहले चाहिए, कुछ लोग पहले चॉकलेट डिमांड कर रहे हैं तो उसको पहले आप दे दीजिएगा और बाकी के लिए वेट कीजिएगा, राइट? अदर आर विलिंग, कुछ लोग वेट करने को तैयार हैं, उनको बाद में दीजिएगा, राइट? तो सीएलओ क्या होता है? व्हाट हैपन इन सीएलओ दैट अ बैंक बंडल मल्टीपल कमर्शियल लोन, right? What happened in CLO is that bank bundle multiple commercial loan, right? So it bundle multiple, you can see it here, just let me show you. So bank bundle multiple commercial loan, right, and sell them to investor. So they sell them to investor, right? Instead of keeping these loan, bank transfer them to SPV. What is SPV? SPV stand for special purpose vehicle. बैंक ट्रांसफर देम टू एसपीवी, एंड देन एसपीवी इशू सिक्योरिटी. एसपीवी क्या करता है? सिक्योरिटी इशू करता है, जिसको हम लोग ट्रेंचेज बोलते हैं. द ट्रेंचेज इज द सेम एज सिक्योरिटी. द सिक्योरिटी इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड ट्रेंचेज, राइट? सो एसपीवी इशू सिक्योरिटी टू डिफरेंट इन्वेस्टर. ये ट्रेंचेज किसे इशू होता है? इन्वेस्टर को इशू होता है, राइट? तो एसपीवी को कहा जाता है स्पेशल पर्पस व्हीकल. सो बैंक लोन ना रख के, बैंक ने कमर्शियल बैंक, व्हाट डिड बैंक डू? बैंक बंडल मल्टीपल कमर्शियल लोन and sell them to investor. Instead of keeping the loan, bank transfer them to SPV. SPV issue security, which we call tranches, and issue to different investor, and the bank benefit by freeing up money, right? So one question I want to ask you: why do banks securitize loan? Option A, to reduce credit risk. To reduce credit risk. Option B, to lend more. Option C, to attract investor. Sorry for my handwriting, just I'm speaking, listen to my word, all of above. So question is, why do banks securitize loan? Option A, to reduce credit risk. Option B, to lend more. Option C, to attract investor. Option D, all of the above. क्यों बैंक सिक्योरिटाइज करती है लोन को? क्रेडिट रिस्क को कम करने के लिए, ज्यादा लैंड करने के लिए, इन्वेस्टर को अट्रैक्ट करने के लिए, या इनमें से सभी? व्हाट डू यू थिंक? द करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन नंबर डी, ऑल ऑफ द अबव, राइट, ऑल ऑफ द अबव, सभी के लिए, राइट। बैंक रिड्यूस रिस्क, बैंक फ्री अप कैपिटल, एंड बैंक अट्रैक्ट इन्वेस्टर, right? These three are the role, right? So how are these CLO structured? So now we know what is CLO, collateralized lending obligation, how it is structured. So you know this CLO is not just one security. ये जो CLO होता है वो केवल एक सिक्योरिटी नहीं होता है, right? It is broken down into tranches, right, or layer. So there is something called, you know, there is something called senior tranche. There is something called senior tranche, which means triple A rated. There is something called senior tranche, just like triple A rated, which is first priority. This triple A tranche, you know, this is the first priority. This is first priority, right? It means it has low risk and it has low return. Low risk, and here return is also low. Then we have second called mezzanine trenches. Mezzanine trenches. Mezzanine trench. So in this is called triple B rated. This is, you know, triple B rated. Here risk is moderate. Here risk is moderate, but return is also moderate. Both return and risk are moderate. And the third is called, you know, equity trench. Equity trench, which is unrated. It has no rating. In this case, last in priority, higher risk, high return. Now, tell me, let me ask you a question. See, I told you about three trenches: senior trenches, mezzanine trenches, and equity trenches. Let me ask you a question. My question is, listen to my question carefully, because in a single question we learn different concept. My question is, which trenches get paid first when loan repayment comes in? Option number A, senior trenches. Option number B, mezzanine trenches. Option number C, equity trenches. ऑप्शन नंबर डी, ऑल ऑफ द अबव। मेरा सवाल है कि कौन सा ट्रेंचेज जो है सबसे पहला पेमेंट होगा जब भी लोन का रिपेमेंट आएगा? whenever loan repayment comes, which trenches will be get first? 30 crore, which question? I don't remember. What is the answer for what if bank retain 30 crore? Are you asking about this question? I don't remember. Okay, first of all, answer this. I will let her look at it. So, बताइए, which tranches will get paid first when loan repayment comes in? Is it senior tranches? Is it mezzanine tranches? Is it equity tranches? All equally. So you know about these tranches. Again, I am repeating. Senior tranches में क्या होता है? पहला प्रायोरिटी होता है, लो रिस्क है, लो रेटिंग है, लो रिटर्न है। मेजनाइन ट्रेंचेस उसके बाद का प्रायोरिटी है, मॉडरेट रिस्क है, मॉडरेट रिटर्न है। And equity trenches is higher risk, higher return. It is unrated. Yes, correct answer is senior trenches. Senior trenches will get paid first. Will get paid first, right? So there is a golden rule. There is a golden rule. The golden rule is that cash flow are distributed sequentially from top to bottom. So remember, so the senior trenches, it get paid first. Why? Because the risk is lower. The risk is lower, so safest investment. The next is mezzanine. The next is mezzanine trenches, which get paid next. But only if senior investors are fully paid. Once the senior investors are fully paid, then only mezzanine trenches get paid. And then after we have equity trench, it will be last paid. It will be get paid last. Only if the money is left over. यदि पैसा बचा है तभी इक्विटी वाले को पैसा मिलेगा, right? So this is the order. Now let me ask you one question. Let me ask you one question. Question is, what happen if loan repayment? Just wait a minute. Just let me change the color. What happen if the loan repayment? What happen if the loan repayment are lower than expected? What happen if the loan repayment are lower than expected? Option A, senior investor still get paid. Still get paid first. Listen to option carefully. Option number B, all tranches share the loss equally. Share loss equally. Option number C, mezzanine and equity tranches suffer first. Suffer first. And option number D, bank pays investor. Bank pays investor. So question is, what happen if the loan repayment are lower than expected? मान लीजिए कि लोन का जो रिपेमेंट हुआ एक्सपेक्टेड से कम हुआ, तो क्या होगा? ऑप्शन नंबर ए कह रहा है, ऑप्शन नंबर ए सेज दैट सीनियर इन्वेस्टर गेट पेड फर्स्ट। ऑप्शन नंबर बी से ऑल ट्रेंचेस शेयर लॉस इक्वली, सभी ट्रेंचेस जो है लॉस को इक्वली शेयर करेंगे। ऑप्शन नंबर सी मेजनाइन एंड इक्विटी सफर फर्स्ट। एंड ऑप्शन नंबर डी बैंक पे इन्वेस्टर। सॉरी फॉर माय हैंड राइटिंग, जस्ट लिसन टू माय वर्ड केयरफुली। व्हाट डू यू थिंक, सीनियर इन्वेस्टर स्टिल पेड फर्स्ट? देखिए एक क्वेश्चन से हम लोग बहुत सारे कंसेप्ट को डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, राइट? दिस इज द एसेंस ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन, राइट? सो क्या आंसर लगता है आपको? क्या सीनियर इन्वेस्टर को अभी भी पहले पेमेंट मिलेगा? क्या सभी का लॉस इक्वली शेयर होगा? क्या मेजनाइन और इक्विटी ट्रेंचेस सबसे ज्यादा सफर करेंगे? सो द करेक्ट आंसर इज ऑप्शन नंबर सी। ऑप्शन नंबर सी इज द करेक्ट आंसर, दैट mezzanine and equity suffer first. This is called waterfall structure. This is called waterfall structure. These things are given in your book. This is called waterfall structure. Money flow from top to bottom. Money always flow from top to bottom, right? So that is our learning from this question. This is our learning from the question that CLO allow bank to so the correct answer is option number C. CLO allow bank to securitize loan and free up capital. Tranches divide risk. Senior is the safe, mezzanine is the medium, and equity is risky but high return. And cash flow strict order, cash follow a strict order. First of all senior, then after mezzanine, and then after equity, right? So I hope this session was useful for you, right? Drop a yes in the chat if it was really useful, right? So today we have covered some question from unit number 14 from market risk, and presently we are in unit number 15, that is our credit risk, right? So these are the different questions we have covered in today's session, and the rest we will cover in the next lecture. I will share the timing of the next lecture in the group, right? And I will share the PDF also. So I hope it was useful for you. You have understood many concept in this particular question. If you have any doubt, you can put in the Telegram group, whose link I have already shared, right? So that's all for today. If you have any query related to our discussion, you can discuss in the Telegram group. Okay.